YouTube, what's going on? Is Blake. We're back for a new video. Depending on when you see this, this is a double post in one day. But on the same topic of the deadlift, like I just covered, today we're gonna cover 5 things that you never want to do on deadlift. And this is important to cover because deadlifting is seriously dangerous. You've definitely seen those people that have walked up to the bar and they just start yanking and then they walk away. Oh, my back, my back. You definitely don't want to be that guy. I'm going to go over 5 key tips and tricks and just things to not do and ways to fix them so you can stay safe when deadlifting. Because I see a lot of people out there, deadlifting's just not worth it. I'll never deadlift because it's not worth it. Just meaningless stuff like that. Deadlifting with the correct form will get you the results that you want to see. It will help your overall physique. It'll help everything. It'll help your core, everything. Deadlift is a full body movement. But number one, first thing you never want to do, this is key simple. You never want to let your back round too much when you're deadlifting. I do not want to be pulling like this. Now, pulling like this is different than pulling like this, right? So when somebody's deadlifting with a rounded back, you may see that their back actually stays the same amount rounded the whole time. And that's perfectly fine. If you can start with your back rounded, and somebody who has shorter arms, I know this. My back's been rounding for years. But if you can start with your back rounding and finish it without it rounding more and it only rounds less, boom, that form is perfect. But you never want to have your back round as you're pulling. So like for me, if I'm going to pull, this is how my back's going to be rounded the whole time. I'm not going to start pulling and let my back round more. You never want your back to round more as you pull. I don't care what anybody says. I've never, as somebody who's got a rounded back, that's never happened to me. That is a 100% sign of bad form. As long as the rounding only gets better and doesn't get worse, you'll be okay. If it gets worse, you're not okay. Fix the form, get a stronger low back. That would be the first key. Get a stronger low back so it doesn't happen. And just do not let, as you start pulling, do not let that happen. Start rounded, finish unrounded. Don't go from A to B to C, go from A to B. Number 2, letting your hips rise first. Now this is a great sign for people with lockout issues like myself. I watch all my videos, make sure my hips don't rise first. Now this could happen conventional, sumo, frog, wide stance sumo, close grip, or close stance conventional. This can happen. This is a just deadlift wide tip, to be honest. If your hips are rising first, that is just putting you out of position for your lockout, right? So when you start right here, in a perfect world, I would just go like this. But we know that the deadlift, all effort, takes a lot more. Only wish it was that simple, you know what I'm saying? But when you go down and you start deadlifting, maybe your hips do a little movement, but you start pulling and you do it all the way. If you go down and you just yank this bar, your back can stay flat while you're doing this. You could have super flexible hamstrings. You could go down, yank this bar, your back's still flat. But when you get to right here, you're just not locking it out. Your hamstrings have had enough with you, to be honest. That's why people train RDLs. That makes you go in that harder position to help you work on your hamstring strength. That is a whole separate exercise. It is not what you want to do in the regular deadlift. And especially in sumo, like I have this problem in sumo, we get in your stance, you start pulling. If your hips go up like this, man, when your knees are locked and that bar is right here, you're going to be fighting it. And I deal with that all the time. But it overshooting of the hips, like where mine, it's like it's pretty minor. If you get major raising of the hips, major just hips rising before the bar, that's when you know that your lockout's just going to basically have no chance, if you see what I'm saying. You want to try to drive through. If you're having this problem, what you could do is try to drive through your heels, or, yeah, so if you're driving through your heels, that could keep you from sitting back. 99% of the time, if your butt's rising first, you're pushing too much of your weight forward. So you're sitting on your toes too much. So you're going to lean like that. You want to sit on your heels and pull it back. Easier said than done, but that leads us on to number 3, which is deadlifting loose. What I mean by deadlifting loose is just having no brace, no tightness, no flexing, just yanking. Now, a lot of these first 2 things I went over, like back rounding and like your butt coming up first, a lot of that's caused from deadlifting loose. And what I mean by deadlifting loose, I got a crazy clip. If I can find it, I'll put it right here. If I can't, sorry. But my first 545 attempt, I walked up to the bar, did a little shake, and as fast as I could, I grabbed the bar and I just pulled. Now, if the weight isn't heavy enough, you're lucky. But when the weight gets heavy and you start doing that, bicep tears, both of them. You know, you can even if you pull hook grip, you could tear your bicep deadlifting like that. If you just go and you just yank, you could tear your bicep pulling any grip. You know, just yanking, you can pull it any grip. And so that's very dangerous, just yanking like that. As far as yanking in sumo, you just set your legs up, you just go down and you pull. You could look at pulling something in your legs, you see what I'm saying? If it's not going to be your arms, it's going to be your legs. You never want to walk up to the bar and just pull the freaking bar. I understand it's a deadlift, but there's ways to ease into it. Keep yourself safe, everything else. What I recommend, you're deadlifting conventional. You walk up, hold the bar for a second. Pull the slack out of the bar. You don't even have to pull the slack out of the bar. But just feel the bar and then maybe do one of those. Just up into the bar and pull. So you can ease into pulling. So you're not giving it 100% effort at the get-go. You're easing into the pull. And you can ease into the go pretty fast or pretty slow, but you want to ease into the pull. You never want to just, terrible things happen when you do that. And then, just like the last 3, that's going to ease me into tip number 4, or what not to do. Number 4. What not to do, number 4, is deadlift uneven. Now, I've seen a ton of people do this, and this can lead to even more injuries. If you set up, and let's say you're pulling mixed trip, right, which is an uneven thing. But if you go down and you set this hand wider than you set this hand, and you start pulling, not only are you going to lock out like this, right, but you're going to be putting a ton of pressure on this arm, a ton of pressure on this bicep tendon. And bicep tendon, that's like one of the number 1 injuries in the deadlift, and people can't believe it. But if you're pulling uneven and it's just like this, and you're sitting at it like this, you know, more at the top, you know, not if you're at the top and your hand starts opening. I see some guys in IPF where that happens. They get to the top, one hand opens. That's completely different. But I'm talking about through the pull. If one arm is just, like your grip is tight, but you're just off, that's putting tremendous wear and tear on your bicep. You could easily tear that. You just want to make sure everything's even. You want to make sure your feet are even, because if you got one foot like over here, that's just another thing. You're just going to be putting pressure. Your back's probably going to hurt as well. Just don't deadlift uneven. Make everything you do on the deadlift even. Now, if you have arms where one, like my right arm is about that much, like literally that much longer than my left, I may want to actually change my arm position because I know that one of those is off so I can make the lift even, right? But it's all about being even. Whatever you can do to make it even. If you're off, there's just so many injuries that could come along with that. And deadlifting being so dangerous already, you don't want to add more possibilities. Now, going on from that, we're going on to tip number 5, which is pretty in-depth. And this one's more of a advanced tip. But it's definitely something to keep in mind if you're planning to push your deadlift. You're trying to keep it in your head. Well, it's another way a lot of people get hurt on the deadlift. And what I mean, or what I'm saying pretty much, but like what I mean by that is deadlifting way too often. This doesn't even have anything to do with form. But deadlift is one of those things where it wears and tears on your body. And one of the parts of your body that you use every day is your back. Deadlift is almost all back, right? And like in the bench press, where you do pick up stuff and you do kind of push stuff daily, you push a door open daily, but you're not really using your arms to press like 400 pounds daily, maybe a 5 pound push on the door, you know what I'm saying? But on the deadlift, every day you're picking up, if you cut me from right here, I'd say that this is have to be at least 100 pounds. So every day my back is picking up 100 pounds, just like this. Every day it's 100 pounds. So your back is already more fatigued than the rest of your body is going to be. So if you're going in deadlift maxing every single day, if you're pulling sumo or conventional, it doesn't matter. It's still majority of the wear and tear is going on your back. Deadlift or conventional sumo, it still doesn't matter. Majority of the wear and tear is on your back. Simple answer, simple question. So when you're deadlifting, it's important that you give yourself time. Me in particular, I can't do a heavy deadlift for like once every 4 weeks. Once every 4 weeks. Maybe twice every 4 weeks if I'm lucky, which would be once every 2 weeks. But really once every 4 weeks is the only time that I want to go for like, hey, I'm going to max out this double. If I want to do like a max out of 8, maybe that's a little bit different. That just tire me out more. That wouldn't like really wear and tear on my back. But I cannot just go 675, 700, 720 new PR. Like, for me, that just doesn't work. I like taking the bigger jumps. And I just like keeping it chill because your back does so much for you. It's important that you respect it. So that's basically my 5 things to stay away from when deadlifting. Mostly 4 of them for form. And the 5th one, just don't be an idiot with your back. You only get one back, you know what I'm saying? And so many Americans, so many people just in general have back problems. So it's important to just take care of your back. Use deadlifts to make your back stronger. Don't use deadlifts to make your back weaker. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see next. And that is it for me. Peace.